Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day, another episode of 30 NSG. Yeah, I wasn't late. I thought I was going to be late, but I wasn't late, and that's how I roll. On today's show, we're going to be talking about, we have an article from Eurogamer.net. It says, why the gradual death of console exclusives make business sense. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Star Wars Outlaws can be finished in blank amount of hours. We'll talk about that as well. We're going to talk about Sea of Thieves being one of the best-selling games of May, but yet the player base is diminishing on the PlayStation 5. And we'll talk about Todd Howard talking about we don't need to rush the next Fallout game. We do this on Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like what I do here, we just cover news stories, have conversations with live chat. I give you my thoughts and opinions, and we have a conversation with chat each and every single morning. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. That's right. That's right, Kylo. I said I might be a little late, and then I started early. Just the way I roll. Just the way I roll. What's going on, Robert Jones? What's going on, Z? What's going on, Nate? What's going on, Eclipse? Dave Rose, good morning. Come on, Kylo. Happy belated Father's Day to any of you guys that are fathers out there. And if you don't know if you're a father, well, happy Father's Day to you. You might be a father. Nintendo Direct was just announced for tomorrow, 7 a.m. Pacific. Was that that's 10? That's 10. So tomorrow, we don't really watch. We won't watch it live, but we will cover anything they say afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So if they say something, because if I watch that live, it's just gonna get demonetized completely anyway. So there's no point of watching it live. So we'll let it go, and then if anything afterwards they announce something, then we'll talk about it. I think that sounds like a better plan. That sounds like a better plan. All right. How's everyone's weekend? Everyone's weekend good? They already said no word on the next Switch. Yeah, I didn't think it would be. They usually, I mean, it is summertime. They could do it, yeah. But I would think it's more of a holiday thing. They would announce it, or an early next year thing, like a March thing. Metro Prime coming, 2027. When did they show Metro Prime for, like, title? How many years ago was that? Was that like 5 years ago? 6 years ago? Or is it longer than that? Todd Howard yesterday, in the interview with Matty Plays, he actually said when they first showed the Elder Scrolls 6, like, title, was 6 years ago. And I was like, that's 6 years ago? Which is just absolutely crazy. Come on, Super Dave. Was it Switch 1 release? Which was like 7 years ago. Yeah, right? It was like 2017, 2018, something like that, right? That's crazy. Like, yeah, we're working on it. Could you imagine? Like, there's just certain games out there that have been in development or have talked about for so many years, and they barely even, like Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been in works for 15 years. 15 years. Could you imagine working on something for that long and not seeing something? I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine working... Well, actually... I'm pretty close. Wait, I'm pretty close because I actually, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. There's a movie I worked on. When I worked on it, it was called like Demon Door or something like that. Silent something. It was like a horror flick I did in 2011. Okay. And then they edited it, and then they got sued for something, and they lost the rights, and they got the rights back, and it's just an independent film. 2011. We are in 2024, and I have yet to see it. It hasn't come out yet. Hasn't been out yet. Straight to DVD, whatever. Nothing. There's been nothing. So it's been 13 years. So, but then again, I haven't put my blood, sweat, and tears into it. It was literally like 2 weeks of work. But it's been 13 years, so I can sort of relate. Kyle says, the game is almost done, and it wasn't good enough for Nintendo, so they remade the whole thing with the OG devs. Is that true? Is that true, Kylo? They scrapped it all and went back to the OG devs. Is that true? I'm fine with it as long as the it's fantastic. The team is Retro Studios. Better be cooking something. Yes, very true. Interesting. Think about that for a second, right? Think about that for a second. They've been working on this game for that long, and then they decided to start over because they know when that game sells. What? Let me look this up. I gotta look up. Let's see. The Metroid franchise has sold over 21.45 million copies worldwide. It would be more than that. It sells anywhere between 1 million and 3 million. That's pretty small for that. So the budget for that might not be as big as I thought it was. I would love to know what Metroid or what Nintendo spends on average with their first party games. I would love to know what they spend on budget wise for their first party games. So when it comes out, you can point out to the screen and tell your wife you're still working in the business. It doesn't work that way because they're not actually paying me my check after that. I made my money 13 years ago, Dolphin. We started development in 2019. Come on, Lurker. If you have to work on a game for 15 years and you try to bring it out on 3 console generations, this game will suck hard. Well, wait. If you worked on a game for 15 years... Oh, you're talking about Beyond Good and Evil, right? I'm getting confused because we were just talking about Metroid. Yeah, Beyond Good and Evil was supposed to come out for the Xbox 360. It was supposed to come out on the Xbox 360. Can you imagine? Grand Theft Auto released again, and released again on 3 separate consoles while this one's still cooking. Yeah, no, it's not, definitely not Spider-Man budget. Z says the budget's probably pretty low because of the Metroid sweatshops. Sweatshops? Well, let's speaking of Switch, right? Speaking of Switch and like other games, right? The first story we got is from Eurogamer. It comes when was the date of this one? 13th. So last week it came out. I don't think we talked about this one. So while the gradual death of the console exclusives makes business sense, we cover stories here in the mornings from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern, Monday through Thursday. If you like what we do here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I read the story for the first time on stream. Submitted stories are from you guys or myself. I just look at the title, throw it in. I said, I'll do it on stream, and that's what we do. So while the gradual death of the console exclusive makes business sense, and why Lego Horizon Adventures is coming to the Switch. Okay, I believe this is an opinion piece by Chris Drigg from Eurogamer. He says, back in 2021, GameIndustry.biz spoke to former PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan about his hopes for the future of the company, and he gave the following answer. I would like to see a world where the games will be make at PlayStation can be enjoyed by many tens of millions of people, perhaps hundreds of millions. Right now, success with the current console model, really great PlayStation hit. You're talking 10 or 20 million people being able to play the game. to say that 10 to 20 million people will be able to play the game, that's at the time, that's a big percentage. If you're selling 50 million copies of your console, you want half of those people to buy it. That's impressive. Okay, doesn't matter what console you are, to get that many people, right? If you have 100 million and you want 10 or 20, that's you're like, okay. But to have 50 to 60 and you want a third, half to of that, that's insane. He says, quote, "We're talking about games stacking up against music. We're talking about games stacking up against movies. Music and movies, they can be enjoyed by almost limitless audiences. And you think that some of the art our studios are making is some of the finest entertainment that has been made anywhere in the world. And that kind of gate of the audience for the 20 or 30 million frustrates me. I would love to see the world where hundreds of millions of people can enjoy those games." Okay? There's a problem with this vision, which Ryan acknowledged. It says, and when he mentioned the current console model, the audience for games console hasn't grown bigger in decades. Okay, so this is a CEO of a company literally admitting that the console market hasn't grown bigger. It's just stayed the same, and if not, gotten smaller. Because again, we've talked about it in the past. If you take the Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation over the course of the decades, okay, since all three of them been in the industry, the consoles have dropped dramatically in totals. So like Switch would sell high, PlayStation would sell medium, and Xbox would sell low. And then the year that PlayStation sold high and Xbox sold medium, the Wii U came out and that sold low, right? It doesn't matter what it is. The combined total of these three, the increase of console sales hasn't gone up. And even Jim Ryan says consoles hasn't grown bigger in decades. For PlayStation in particular, he has never gone much beyond 150 million. The panel of GI.biz held the IGN live last week, and former PlayStation Worldwide Studio President Sean Layden said that the games market is still a $250 million overall install base of active consoles, and that's the challenge. This is what I've been talking about, and this is why I said that this is why Xbox is going to Game Pass and going on PC and doing all the stuff that they have to do on mobile, because they're all fighting over this $250 million, $300 million player base, and there is overlap there, right? Like I own a Switch, I own a PlayStation 4, I owned an Xbox One. I was in the zone where I owned all three, plus I owned a PC, right? I'm a very, very minute customer that owns multiple, right? Now with the new system, I own two. I own the Switch and I own the Xbox Series X. Okay, I don't own a PlayStation 5, but I own a PC, so I have three of the four components. I almost have the Thanos glove, but I don't. Okay, so the console games market has done a good job making more money through things like digital distribution and subscription services, but by large, the likes of Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo have just been getting the same number of players to spend more. This is why I said that PlayStation knows their clientele, and they can't grow that business. And this is why they make a different device called the PlayStation VR 2 or the Portal, right? Because that's how they're going to get more money. They can't make money by selling more consoles to more different people because those people are not buying. But they can sell devices and other parts of that help the console that they have, hence why they made the VR and the Portal, okay? So PlayStation wants to make its games more popular, and it wants to turn its franchise into real entertainment powerhouses. But more than that, it needs to do it. Games are often at the cutting edge of what's possible, and it makes time and cost money. Development costs have, in some cases, tripled over the past 5 years, and if Sony wants to keep games at the high end, they need to make them more successful. Okay? So they're trying to get what Nintendo has. They're trying to get what, like, Nintendo Mario Kart 64 or 63 million copies, Legend of Zelda 30 million copies, and PlayStation has done that when they were selling the games for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Well, now if they move over to PlayStation 5, they're segregating more than half of their audience, okay? Because most of those people are still on a PlayStation 4. Well, how do they get that clientele? Well, they got to go to that $250 million pool, which is Nintendo Switch, which would be the Xbox, but they're not going to Xbox because that's the main priority of competition. So, but they would go to PC, right? And this is why they're moving their games or their IP franchises to PC. And this is why I keep saying day and date will happen down the road. And everyone's saying, no, they're staying on course. But business sense tells you that if it's only 250 million people that are in console realm, and you only have 60 million of those people, okay, well, you're not going to grow any farther than that. So you have to go outside of your comfort zone, which would be PC day and date and maybe putting IPs, not per se first-party games, on Xbox or on Switch. Okay. He says, I'm picking the PlayStation because this is just announced that LEGO Horizon Adventure is coming to Nintendo Switch. A PlayStation-owned IP launching on a rival console is unheard of. And it was unheard of, right? And you've been on turn back a clock of 1998 when Wipeout 64 to find another. But of course, this is purely a PlayStation thing. Almost every company in the games industry is trying to push its biggest franchises into new areas to try to find new fans. And I'm not just talking about games that we've seen in AAA, Assassin's Creed, and Resident Evil games on iPhone, or Mario on the big screen, Halo on the small screen, or Sonic in Roadblocks, Final Fantasy coming to more consoles. They're all at it, okay? That's because they want to grow. MLB The Show didn't come over to Xbox because MLB didn't want to make more money. MLB was like, yeah, we have a deal with you, but we would like to make more money, so we're going to put it on the Xbox console. And PlayStation's like, okay. So Nintendo effectively has two parts of business platform and the IP. The platform business is everything from hardware sales, accessory sales, subscription, and store sales, and these companies receive large cuts of revenue. Excuse me. 30% is the most cases for every third-party game sold on the platform. So the platform business is extremely lucrative and an important part of their income. There's also a reason why Sony is mortified of the idea of Xbox owning Call of Duty, and it wasn't purely to do with the impact of the console sales. It made money from each game sold. That's right. And this is where people are talking about Call of Duty going, it's a mistake for Microsoft to do it. No, it's not. They're still making a huge chunk of change from PlayStation, and PlayStation has to pay their competitor, okay, every time they sell that game on their console. That's what they don't like, okay? So meanwhile, the IP business is what we're talking about. With an encompass game sales, merchandise, expansions into TV and movies, and so on, the easiest way to find new players for these games is to go in to seek them out and not expect them to come to you. In other words, if Microsoft thinks PC gamers might like a particular console franchise, it's better to launch on the Steam than expect them to go buy an Xbox. Correct. Instead of the business model. Look, I do love the business model that Sony has. Instead of day and date on PlayStation for their new games for PlayStation Plus and their first-party games, they give that game like God of War or Spider-Man a chance to breathe, make money, and then they put it on PlayStation Plus. Okay? But at the same time, I do believe they should take PC games and PlayStation games that they're making for God of War, Spider-Man, and put it on PC and PlayStation day and date at the same time. Because to think that someone is going to buy a PlayStation because they love your game so much, that's such a finite amount of people that already have a PC. They're like, I'll just wait, okay? And it makes no sense, okay? So here it says, to be better at launch than Steam and expect to go to Xbox. But if your console maker is the key challenge, okay, it's aggravatingly chasing players or aggressively chasing players on other platforms by releasing its games on them. It risks weakening the platform business. Now, looking at the platform holders, Xbox has perhaps the latest to lose by going multi-plat, considering the small size of platform business. In the main focus, it has been expanding its franchise to PC and mobile, and currently building a mobile game store, and it has been launching it on the first-party titles on PC on the day they come out on the console. But the best part of the decade, it's also expanding the franchise for TV and film. By considering PlayStation and Nintendo install base, there's also clearly a decent audience that can also reach via the consoles too, and the firm has also been strategically releasing selected titles on PlayStation 5 and Switch. Now, Nintendo has shown its no interest in putting its brands on direct rivals, and its slightly stronger position of console platform that actually grown quite a bit from the generation to next. The difference between Nintendo, PlayStation, and Microsoft, or I should say Sony and Microsoft, is Nintendo is known for kids, okay? Kid gaming. No matter what PlayStation does, if they want to get into that market that Nintendo's in, then they have to come out with more games like Astro Boy, right? They got to come out with more platformers and characters, okay? Like what they're doing with Alo, or how do you pronounce her name? I don't know. Lono corrected me. All right, I say Aloy. I think it's Aloy, okay? That where they need to make more kid-friendly titles, okay? Because this is my joke, okay? When you're born, they hand you a Nintendo, and when you die, you turn it back in. That is their player base, from like 0 to 99. Where PlayStation, on the most part, you don't start playing PlayStation and Xbox until about maybe 10, 11, 12, right? When a kid gets old enough and says, I want a PlayStation. They either go buy it themselves with birthday money, or they get it from birthday presents or Christmas gifts or Hanukkah or whatever. But for the most part, their first introduction to video games, besides the mobile phones now, okay, is the Switch, is Nintendo. Okay, before it was the Game Boy Advance or the Game Boy 3DS or whatever it was, it's always been Nintendo. So Nintendo doesn't have to change their business model because they have kid-friendly games all the time. Their characters, their IPs, they're all kid-friendly. Okay, where Xbox and PlayStation have more mature, right? Master Chief, Gears of War, God of War, right? All of these characters are not really kid-friendly characters. They're more brutal. They're more adult type of characters. So even so, with aggressively pushing the branches outside of Switch, initially the smartphones are now VI movies and theme parks. Things like Super Mario Run on the Mario Brothers movie are ways to finding new fans, and it's working. The mobile games have attracted hundreds of millions of players, although they haven't been lucrative as expected. While the Mario movie was one of the biggest animated films of all time, and it released and even increased the sales of the Switch hardware. This is the same thing we've talked about with like what's happening with Fallout series. Fallout series came out, Fallout made more money. Mario movie came out, Switch has made more money. That's just the way it works, right? Cross-platform, cross-progression. Not cross-platform, cross-progression. Cross-promotion, right? That's what they're doing. Back to PlayStation, the company has targeted PC as a place to release its games. It's even required a PC port specialist, okay, and to deliver a franchises on Steam. However, with a much larger audience on PlayStation owners, it has more to lose than Xbox, and so on, outside of the live service effort like Helldivers 2. And primarily, waited 1 to 2 years before porting PlayStation games to PC, and the hope is that not only will they reach more players this way, but this might create new fans from PlayStation games who will also then purchase a PlayStation 5 console in the future. I'm not going to say that's not going to happen. People will buy a PlayStation 5, but if they already own a PC, they're less likely to go buy a PlayStation 5, and even if they do, to make that purchase for that one game that comes out. I know some of you in chat bought it, returned it, and then bought another one down the road when another game came out because you're not playing a lot of games on your PlayStation. And vice versa, if it was an Xbox as well. People have done that as well. Okay. It says, quote, "We're finding new audiences via PC and potentially going into very interesting playing, for example, sequels of PlayStation platforms," said PlayStation CEO Herman Holtz in the business update last month. Meanwhile, like Nintendo and the firm, have been investing heavily into TV and movie expansions, including last year's Last of Us TV and Gran Turismo movie. It's also making early moves into creating mobile games as well. It says, "For a lot of companies, the mobile is the biggest opportunity, and we're seeing increasing numbers of the AAA games coming to the latest Apple iPhones, such as Assassin's Creed Mirage and the remake of Resident Evil 4. And this platform may not seem like the ideal place to experience these games, but it's worth remembering that the console business isn't really a global one." Okay? And that's another people think because in America it's a big sales thing that they think the rest of the world's a big sales thing. It's not. This right here is the big sales thing. Okay, mobile devices. Okay, there are numerous major gaming markets, including China and India, where the console install base is very small, and most gaming, even amongst the hardcore players, is being done on mobile devices. The challenge, as often case with mobile, is that how the audience pays for their games. And it's a free-to-play market, which also doesn't typically sit well with the premium AAA console games. Releasing games on mobile and PC carries less risk than console makers than putting their games on the other consoles. And considering the relative small size of console businesses, it's understandable for the focus in more areas like smartphones. Nevertheless, depending on the game, it'll be a cases where the releasing titles on rival platforms can make strategic sense. The news that LEGO's Horizon Adventure is coming to Switch may have been a surprise, but it's also a lot of logic to it. Gorilla has been proactive in trying to build the Horizon brand with comics, toys, board games, and even upcoming TV show. The LEGO game is part of the strategy, and this game targets younger audiences compared to the main Horizon series. And if you're actively after younger players, it's a better platform than Switch, then your LEGO games typically sell extremely well. So Sony will have evaluated this move and deemed it largely addictive to people who aren't going to turn their back on the PlayStation 5 because of the LEGO retelling of the 2017 game coming to another platform. The risk is low. Switch represented an untapped audience for Horizon who might in turn come to the other way. Like the LEGO Horizon game, one they're not tried of one of the main games on PlayStation. I think this is a bigger and this is a long-term play. I've said this on the other podcast, on Lono's podcast. Okay, I said that I think LEGO Horizons is that play of get the character known with the younger audience, and then when that audience gets older, they'll know that character. By that time, my son's 9, right? He plays the Switch, he plays Xbox right now because that's what we have in the house, and the PlayStation 4. But he's never played a Horizon game, okay? So he might be interested in this because Lego, and then because of the character, then down the road, he might look at this and go, oh, I know that character. I want to go play that game. So it's a long-term play, and I think it's a smart move by them to kind of condition the character into the younger audience and then get them to get the game later when it gets older. Okay, so by contrast, Xbox version of the game isn't appealing, and the Xbox audience is much smaller than the Nintendo one, and not quite as family-oriented. There's also the abundance of Lego games available on Game Pass. Now, Xbox has been more open to releasing games on PlayStation and Nintendo, which makes sense considering the size of the console business versus the rest, but even it being selective strategy with the games it picks, take Sea of Thieves and Grounded. With the live service games that benefit greatly in more players, or Hi-Fi Rush, which is a game that could have potentially do well in Japan, so should really release the platforms of Japanese and actually own, or Ori games, or which is a genre of Metroidvania, a hugely popular one in Nintendo. In the future, we should expect to see more games, corporates, in surprising places, and there's also likely to see some tension behind the scenes over what is right for each game. In somewhat telling, the PlayStation has named 2 CEOs at a time around. One has led the platform business, and one is in charge of the games, and there's potential challenges in the relationship because of what's best for God of War or Uncharted may not always be the best for PlayStation 5. That sounds like a case-by-case scenario, doesn't it? So consoles are not about to disappear, and neither are exclusives, not completely, but the games become increasingly mainstream, with even rising number of multi-billion-dollar franchises. It needs to make these properties as available as possible with only increase, okay? And this is what I've been saying for years, that more games will come in more places because that's how they're going to expand, right? Less consoles are being sold. It doesn't matter that PlayStation is selling 60 million copies. They could sell 120 million copies, and the next Nintendo's whatever game comes out, they could sell 100 million copies, and the next PlayStation only sells 60 million copies. The next Xbox only sells 20 million copies. Overall, less consoles are being sold decade after decade after decade, or generation after generation after generation. So what do they have to do? They have to adapt. They have to make things cross-platform. They have to make things day and date on other platforms, right? They got to reach outside of what they're doing for their core audience, because how many pieces of devices are you selling, right? If Xbox comes out with a handheld that does the same thing as the Portal, how many people are going to buy that when they can already play their games, right, on their cell phones, right? How many people, of 60 million people on PlayStation, bought a PlayStation? How many of those people bought a PlayStation VR 2? Not anywhere close to 60 million, okay? Not how many people that bought the PlayStation Portal? Not anywhere close to 4 million, okay? So they can't just keep dipping into the pile of the hardcore fans, because they're only going to get so much before they're like, hey, what's going on here? Okay? And then you dilute your player base. That's your loyal fans. So they have to start reaching outside of their traditional platforms. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think? Do you think more games are going to be coming day and date across all the industry, not just for Sony, but across the board? Okay? If it's Nintendo, do you think Nintendo will start moving their stuff across the aisle to PC day and date? Do you think PlayStation will do more games day and date? Or just after time, just start spreading their IPs to other locations? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. And if you like what I do here, please make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right. Let me back up here. See what you guys are saying. Kylo says, I'm surprised Lego didn't make them launch it everywhere. I don't see it selling well, since only people interested are going to be the Sony gamers, since the only ones who know the franchise. No, I think it will sell well on Switch, because Lego in general sells well. Now, do I think it's going to sell like 10 million copies or anything like that? No. But again, we don't know the budget. We don't know what they need to sell. But I think it will be a successful franchise. I think it will be enough where you will see like a God of War Lego version, or you will see an Uncharted Lego version down the road. COD on PlayStation is about to fund Xbox's first-party games. That's facts right there. He's yeah. I think its real issue is people just don't know what multi-platform actually means. Kylo Green says, agreed, little kids are going to be like, who the fuck is this? Yeah, but see, I don't even think it's... I think you're thinking of the people that know who the character is on PlayStation and not interested in that character, and they're not going to get it for Switch. But there's other kids who are like, what's this Lego game? Let me play the Lego game. Right? Whatever that Lego game is. If it's a Batman, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, right? It's just another IP, another Lego game, and they'll try it out. I think it'll sell pretty good. PlayStation's going to pivot to kids games. The pony heads are going to go to explode. I personally think all franchises, Xbox, Sony, or PlayStation, they should pivot. They should make more games and get more IPs that are more kid-friendly. Otherwise, this is why they're not in competition with Nintendo. Nintendo's there by themselves. Nobody competes with Nintendo because they have the kids market locked down. Everyone's like, oh, you know who spends money? Gamers between the ages of 25 to 34, males. That's false. Do you know that stat is also part of adults that have children, and the children like, I want that game, and who pays for it? Do you think the children pay for it? No, an adult pays for it. So that stat, when you see people that buy games are from the ages of this age and that age, well, those are also dads and moms that are also buying those games for their children. Master Chief is a teddy bear. What do you mean? Next up, Lego Bloodborne on Switch. So they're third party. Good morning. Come on, Mo. Oh no, my kids was playing Dreamcast, Power Stone, and Outrigger at 7 and 8. We got the GameCube years later. East Vandal says only on PlayStation third party. They're a first to go to day and date. I like how we've moved the goalpost a little bit, right? Obviously, PlayStation has said that their first-party titles are not going day and date. They're sticking. But I remember a time when nothing on PlayStation was going day and date. And then it was MLB The Show, and they're like, well, that's not really Sony's decision. That's MLB's decision. And then Helldivers came out, and they're like, well, that's really just because it's a live service thing. That's not because of Sony decision. And now it's a Lego decision. It's not a Sony decision. And I always find it's funny that it's never Sony's problem. Sony's never bent the knee. It's everybody else that made Sony bend the knee. Nate says, off topic, what everyone think about the Shadows? I wouldn't even call it a hip-hop jazzed up music for Black Dude. This is crazy. I've been playing Far Cry New Dawn and didn't have rap music because the twins are. I have no idea what any of that means, Nate. I don't know what any of that means. Xbox puts games on PlayStation. The world is on fire. PlayStation put games on Switch. Great strategy, business move. Got it. That's what I'm saying, Vandal. Right? That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't understand. One company does it. They get shit on. They're closing down. It's done. Another company does it, and they're like, this is a good business move. My cat played a ton of PlayStation 2 with Jackson Daxter, Ratchet and Clank. Personally, not interested in Shadows, but hip-hop music trailers are great in my opinion. Mortal Kombat 10, 11, reveal trailers are dope, and rap music has morning to do with Mortal Kombat, but it's fire. What's multiplat? Any game that's on multiple platforms. That's the definition. If people want to say console exclusive, cool. Is this game on this platform? Yeah. Is it on that platform? Cool. Multiplat. That's it. Dolphin says 30. The controversy because when the Black Samurai was in AC Shadow trailers, they played hip-hop music and everyone called them racist. But why? I'm confused. They're calling the company racist for putting rap music with a black guy on. Is that what you're saying? So they're calling AC Shadow developers racist because they put rap music in when a black guy is in the game. That's what we're saying. Well, those people are retarded. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, those people are retarded. I did see, though, on Twitter that the AC developers blocked the historian of Japanese culture because he said that theirs was false. He wasn't a samurai. A guy that knows about the history of it came out and said something, so they just blocked him, which I thought was, I'm like, all right, it's a bold move. They're like, fuck your history. We don't give a shit what you say. It's a video game. We're going to make up whatever we want. I hate when the sale of our game is multi-plat, but they only exist on Steam and Epic. Well, here's the difference, Jones. So there's a lot of different multi-platforms now. Before the digital age, multi-platform was actual physical consoles because that's what it was. So Atari, Coleco, Nintendo, Sega, Sega Dreamcast, Sega Genesis, N64, PlayStation, Xbox, all of those are different platforms. PC, Mac, PC, right? Those are different platforms to play games on. Then when the digital space came into effect, there's different multi-platform now. There's physical multi-plat and there's digital multi-plat. So if I can play the game, but it's on Epic Game Launcher, or it's on GOG, or if it's on Amazon Luna, or if it's Google Stadia, or if it's actual Steam, those are also different platforms where you can purchase a game and play the game on that platform, right? The box that it's in, which is PC, is a platform to play games on. But the actual launchers and the games where they're being sold are different platforms as well, because they could be exclusive to Epic, or it could be exclusive to Steam, or it could be exclusive for Amazon, right? So there's a bunch of different platforms that you can actually play on. Mo says, the best part about Sony Horizon thing is that they bring up a chart talking about experimental games. Well, I think when they say experimental, Mo, they're talking about it as what I said in the article. They're taking an IP and they're playing the long game with it. It's an experiment to see if the young kids, the young kids see this, play it, and then when they get older, they play it. This is not an easy payoff of like, they're going to put it on Switch and everyone's like, whoa, I played Lego Horizon. I'm going to go buy a PlayStation now and go buy. I don't think that's the way it's going to work. John McCokey. We just talked about Lego. The first story we talked about was the gradual death of console exclusives. And we talked about why Lego, coming to Switch, and why other games are becoming to other platforms, and that consoles are not going away, but there's less and less exclusivity now across the board. Sony's strategy of having a state of play with nothing is an experiment. They should be they should be talking about that. Mike, the same chart could be seen from Microsoft during Activision Blizzard trial. Oh, absolutely. What I'm saying though, Mo, is that putting a game on Nintendo is reaching a group of people that don't play PlayStation games. That's the difference. Nintendo's clientele, people that play their games, are a much younger audience. I'm trying to think of another game. Sort of like, let's take Minecraft Dungeons for example, right? Xbox experimenting with taking an IP like Minecraft, okay, and making it into a separate, different game, okay? That's an experimental game, okay? That's taking a Diablo-style game, taking a Minecraft, which is one of the most popular games on planet Earth, okay, and turning it into, an RPG. And, a dungeon crawler, or a dungeon, and that's experimental, right? Now, I would love to know a stat of people that either played Minecraft and then went over to that game that have never played that type of game before. My son would be one of those people, right? He's never played a Diablo type of game before, or Gauntlet, right? But he played it because Minecraft was the IP, right? So that's experimental. And it did very well for them, okay? And then vice versa. How many people might play that as their first Minecraft experience and then lean into the other Minecraft experience? Yes, but they ain't going to go out and get a PlayStation because of it. No, that's listen to what I'm saying, Mo. The kid itself is not going to go out and buy and go, oh my God, I played Lego and now I must go buy a PlayStation. No, that's not what it is. It's literally baking into your head as a kid. You're like, oh, I played that when I was a kid. Oh, there's a game for that? It might be Horizon's next adventure, and that person comes out 6 years from now. And the person that was 6 is now 12. And now they're in that age bracket where they're like, oh, they're interested in that next stage of PlayStation. It's not about just playing Lego Adventure or Horizon Adventure and then going, oh, I need a PlayStation. Let's go buy that. They're looking to make a character and go, oh, I didn't know about this character. They start playing the game. It's a kid playing the game. They play through Legos. They see the character, and then they're like, oh, what? They might make a number 2 of this if it sells well. And if it does, well, then they've played 2 of them. And then they're like, oh, now they're older. They're like, well, I know that character. Cool. There's a 3-dimensional open world game. Oh, let me try it out. Right? And they might buy a PlayStation down the road. Yeah, the first one was kind of definitely was, but now 20 years later, a Lego game is far from experimental. It's still experimental for them. They haven't made one, right? Just because other people did it, right? Other people open up a business. If I open up a business, that's experimental for me. I never opened up a business, okay? So to say those people that open up the business makes it for me not experimental, that's ridiculous, okay? They haven't made a Lego game before. This is their first Lego game. So this would be experimental for Sony. Fallout Shelter is experimental? Sure. That is experimental, and so is this. They're both cases of experimental. Bethesda never made a mobile game up to that point. Okay, because I can't remember if that one came out first or did... Yeah, that one came out first. So that would be experimental for them. This is experimental for Sony. Both cases are experimental. Carla House says, I don't know why the people are surprised by this. Consoles have been sold at a loss for years, and now AAA game devs' costs are out of control. Kyle says, like saying the Lego DLC of Horizon 4 was an experiment. Probably the best DLC Forza ever had. But you understand the difference, Kylo, right? The case of saying it's experimental is 100% still considered experimental because it was the first time it's done it for that brand or company or business. Just because someone else did it doesn't mean it's not experimental for the company that's doing it now. If they don't go out and get a PlayStation, they'll know about Horizon and the Sony brand Horizon TV. Correct. Which the article said, Titan. They said between the movie, the games, the books, the comic books, and now this, they're taking the IP and putting it out in multiple places. They're experimenting with all of this so that people that are younger see the comic books, see the movies, see the TV show, know about the game, and then they move on with them as they grow up. But that's you, Mo. That's subjective to you. See, what's funny to me, Mo, is you say that, but when someone says that to a game that you like, you think they're full of shit, right? Like, you're looking yourself in the mirror and you're arguing with yourself, right? You think that their character is boring, and then when someone says a character is boring, that a game that you're playing, you're like, I don't care, I eat it for myself. The same shit. They'll be disappointed when they go from Lego, personally, to the PlayStation. Is a bump on the log. I got you, Mike. That was Forza's first time, and they knocked it out of the park. Right. It was experimental, but now they can go back to that well because they know it did well, so that they can keep going back to Forza and make another Lego. Actually, my son was like, why don't they bring another Lego expansion in, right? Like, he's asking for it. But Nintendo's average she group is 25 and up, right? This means that they're trying to get them to convert to PlayStation, which I doubt will happen. No, that's not what they're doing. What I said, in my opinion, and what I was reading with the article, is they're trying to get the younger audience. The people that are 25 and up also have children, right? Mom and dad might be playing the PlayStation and Xbox games, okay? And yes, your kid can play those systems, but I'm not letting my son play a multi-violent game because I'm the parent and decides what my kid should or shouldn't play. Okay, so if they're playing a Nintendo game because they're on the Switch, and I'm like, hey, here you go, I'm buying you the Lego game. They start playing the Lego game, they start knowing the character, and then when they get older, they go, oh, I didn't know this character that I played here, right? It's like, for instance, when my kid was a baby, if I listened to Weird Al Yankovic, Eat It, and then told my son that Michael Jackson's Beat It was a remake of Eat It, okay, he wouldn't know the difference, right? He wouldn't know the difference. He would just know what I told him, what's being sold to him. And what's being sold to him is Weird Al Yankovic made Eat It, and this guy Michael Jackson, okay, made Beat It and copied him. Which we know is not the case. It's the opposite way around. Okay? But if I feed him that, that's what he'll know. Lego Horizon has a confusing marketing for me. I keep thinking it's a racing game. Do you have an improve some comments? I can see only some of Mo's comments has it before the other people too. I do not monitor anything. So if you're not seeing something, I don't know what it is. I can see them all. I don't know why you're having an issue seeing it. Yeah, I can see all the comments. Nothing's being erased or deleted for me in by anybody. Mo's last comments from 10:44 a.m. That's exactly right, Vandal. Right. Trying to get future customers. If you're looking in top chat, Dolphin, that's why you're not seeing everybody. You got to make sure you're in live chat. I don't filter out anybody. I don't know why it defaults to top chat and not default to live chat. It makes no sense to me. It does it to me as well. Every morning, I have to switch it from top to live. Don't tell Travis you don't filter. All right. All right, the next story I want to talk about. Let's talk about Star Wars Outlaws can be finished in 30 hours, says creative director. If you guys like what I do here, we have conversations about topics. We take news stories. We have conversation, give you my thoughts and opinions, and then I talk to live chat afterwards. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Excuse me. All right. So Star Wars Outlaws can be finished in 30 hours, says creative director. So Julian also reveals a significant feature that was cut early on in development. The Star Wars Outlaw players will be able to finish the game in about 30 hours, according to creative director. Now, just off that title alone, to tell me that it's a $140 game, $130 game, that is not worth the price. But let's continue. In an interview with VGC following the game's big reveal on Monday, Ubisoft's Forward Showcase discussed how long the game will take to complete, as well as the decision to cut significant features from the massive original vision for the title. It says, quote, a very, very early on, we decided this is going to be a 25 to 30 hour Golden Path adventure. 50 hours, 60 hours, or a completionist, and that is, for a guy with a family and a job, is still a fair amount of time. Now, I do agree with that. Right? 25, 30 hours, for the main game, and then 50 to 60 hours for a completionist, right? And if you're a person that's just, you buy the game for $70, then cool, okay? But to buy the game for $140 and wait a year to get that content, I don't know, okay? But this is not Assassin's Creed epic 200-hour worth gameplay. So that allows us to really focus on the detail and allows us to focus maybe on a smaller team and executing something that is manageable. VGC is also asked, is Massive was able to put everything into the game that it wanted to originally, or was some aspect of the vision that had to be compromised in any way. He says, as a creator, I'm a big believer in setting the initial vision that's exciting, ambitious, and achievable, he said. It's super important to make sure that everybody who is working on the game is working on the same direction towards the same goal. Okay? He says, quote, on the Division and Division 2 and Star Wars Outlaws, the vision has also been more than less respected. I mean, 95% respect. Some things that were added. A few things have been changed or removed, but very, very little. He says, quote, so for example, removed, he wanted swimming like the first few iterations of the pitch, and it was did have loved to have her swimming. It's not possible, animation said. It's not possible in terms of scope. So, okay, we can live with that. This is well, we'll do without it. And plenty of other things that also can be explored. Well, so there you go. No swimming. That's a bummer. People are gonna make videos of that. They're gonna jump in the water and go, so you automatically die and get respawned or something. Or there's just no water on the planet, right? But all the mini games that are that we have, I don't know if we played Sabak and the arcade games. None of those were actually planned originally, so they were also added during the development. So every little thing, a bit is given and take. Elsewhere in the interview, he responded to some negative of Star Wars Outlaws previews by saying that the players have also been exposed to a small part of what the full game is also it'll be released in August. So now it comes down to is the 30-hour main campaign, because a lot of people that play video games, one, we know, don't even finish the fucking game in anyway, right? So is 30 hours a good chunk? I think so. I think anywhere between a 15-hour campaign and a 30-hour campaign, I think, is well worth it, okay? But you're also paying the $70 up front, or you pay the $18. But now you're paying for content that's not even out yet, right? For instance, we're going to have an interview with Todd Howard a little bit later, but he said that they didn't even start working on the Shattered Space until like September of last year when the game was coming out, okay? So when the main game came out, they were already selling the expansion, Shattered Space, before it was even worked on. So now you're asking people to pay double the price of a game, almost double the price, $130 for the game, for the season pass. And to tell me that things are not cut from the game, of course they're not cut from the game. You removed them from the main game and moved them over to the season pass so you can release the stuff afterwards. But 30 hours for a $70 game, I still think is worth it, right? It's $2 an hour or $2.10 an hour or whatever it is, right? And that is mind-blowing because gaming, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, is still the best piece of entertainment out there compared to movie, concert tickets, sporting events, anything like that. But now you're talking about $130 for people to buy all up front, right? Or $150 with tax or whatever else it is. Is that worth it to wait a year when you could just wait a week, wait 2 weeks, wait 2 months, and the game is now discounted price, okay? Where you can get Skull and Bones for half the price. You can get Pandora for half the price. You can get a lot of these games that Ubisoft makes just a couple of months afterwards that are single-player, open-world games for less money than you could if you get it day one. So you're paying more for less, and then if you wait, you're paying less for more, right? So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is a good price point, right? $70 for the main campaign, which is 25 to 30 hours. Do you think it's too much, right? You know, people are complaining about Starfield with the $7 one mission type of thing. Obviously, this is 30 hours, so how much could they charge per mission? Who knows? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. And if you like what I do here, please check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. No swimming. That's it. I'm out. That's it. 30 hours is good playthrough time. I prefer 15 to 20 personally, but I'm not spending $70 either. I agree, Vandal. Like 15 to 20, I'm good. I even said Marvel's Avengers. I said 12 to 15 hours. It's a good campaign, right? Like I'm okay with shorter campaigns, but then again, I like playing more games, right? Once I'm done with the main campaign, I kind of put the game down. That's why I do all the side quests first, and then go back and do the main mission. Because once I'm done with that main mission, if I have 100 side quests, I'm done with the game, right? I do the main mission, I'm done with the game. I move on to the next thing. I think I'll get the Black Myth Wuhong first and wait for the price drop for Outlaws. While I think 30 hours and 60 is great length, I don't think it's worth $130. Right. Winslow, you said something up here. Morning 30. I had been debating on Friday's video, and I was definitely on your side 100%. It's not to bash Lono, but that's exactly what the PlayStation fanboys think, that things won't change, but people. Yeah, the multi-platform conversation I was having with him on the other day, he was saying multi-plat and then switched to console exclusive, and I said multi-plat's multi-plat. My whole thing with that was, if a game is on another console, regardless if it's PC or console, that's a multi-plat game. Like I said, 100 bosses, I don't have time for that, all that. 30 hours may be an overestimation, given it's from a dev saying it. It could be. But then again, it's all what you want to do. If you're just beeline the campaign, 30 hours, and you're going skip, 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 you could probably do it much faster than 30 hours. Right, Titan? Right? I have 168 hours in Starfield. And then after I beat the main story, I was 192. Right? But someone else plays Starfield. Right? For instance, Mo just played Hellblade 2. People are going through it and saying it's a 5-hour game. But yet Mo did like 9 to 10 hours. Right? Each their own. Okay? So when the dev says it's 30 hours, it's probably like playing the game without going skip, 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 skip. Mo says multi-plat is multi-plat. That's right. Elden Ring was 30 hours. Here's the thing. I put in like 62 hours into Elden Ring. And that was just me exploring the map. I never even beat the game. Never beat the bosses. I think I fought maybe 15 bosses. I think I fought maybe 3 of the main bosses that you have to fight through the main campaign. Mo milked an Xbox game for 30 hours. What a boss. I did Hellblade in about 8 hours. Cool game. Did you play number 2, Vandal? I think I'm going to do a Ubisoft Plus route. beat it, then play about Ubisoft Plus again once the DLCs are out. Here's the thing I'm debating, right? For Outlaws, I love Star Wars. As much as Disney has shit on the brand, I do love Star Wars, right? No matter what. I love Star Wars. I like the video games of Star Wars. I enjoy Star Wars. So I'm looking at it going, I really want to play it, but at the same time, like, even if I pay $18, right? I pay $18 for that month. I play the game. I finish the story. I put the game down. Now I come back down the road. They have a season pass. Now, I don't know if they're doing 1 or 2. But let's say they do 2. Well, I got to pay $18 again. And I got to pay $18 again. So that's 3 times I got to pay $18. Right? Well, at that point, that's a full price game. So it's like, do I just buy the game? Or do I wait 6 months, wait to see what the DLC is, and then wait for the whole thing to come out, and then just buy the whole thing at the end of it? I don't need to play it right at the start. Like myself right now, personally, I'm playing Stellar Blade, and most said it takes 30 to 40 hours. I'm at 57, and still haven't beat it. Depends on how much time you have to put in. Right, exactly. So when he says 30 hours, I think that's a reasonable, right? And he could be fluffing it 5 hours or whatnot. I think it's good. I have no problem paying $70 for a 30-hour campaign. I do have a problem paying $130 for a 30-hour campaign. Well, I still like Star Wars, Vandal. I still like 4, 5, and 6. I still like 1, 2, and 3. A couple weeks ago, I just came to a realization that, those are not for me, and I don't have to like those. But I don't have to not shit on them either. You know what I mean? Because the people that didn't like Star Wars when I was growing up, they didn't watch it. So if I don't like part of the Star Wars they're doing, I'm just not going to watch it. I'll watch what I like. You know what I mean? Ron Slusher says Star Wars needs to be rated R. Kurt says, I understand why people would pay for $20 to $30 for 3-day early access. See, that's insane to me, Kurt, right? Speaking of, like, wrong pricing and stuff like that, right? We had this conversation last week about the $7 mission in Starfield, okay? But meanwhile, people are paying an additional $30 for early access for a game with no extra content. It's just 3 days early access to get access to the game, and they're paying $30. Yet they're bitching about a full price DLC. Dolphin says, a couple of weeks ago, I went to rehab and got out of my addiction of Star Wars. Did you? Like your addiction to Star Wars, and I know you're joking though, Dolphin, because you played Star Wars with us just 2 weeks ago. Balti says, I have a problem paying $130 for any game. Even 30 hours with extra Java. Well, no, you don't get the extra Java unless you pay the extra $110. You got to pay $40 more. You get a 3-day early access and the Java mission. I don't know tons about Star Wars, but I did watch 1 through 6 and still interested just to play the Star Wars game, not knowing anything else, the lore of Star Wars. You meant to say Destiny. Carlos says, I still have to watch the full Todd interview with Maddie. Been watching him since 2014. So crazy to see how far he's came. Super happy for him. Yeah, it was a good interview. But I saw Recourse on his interview, and people are like, how are we supposed to trust somebody? And I laugh about this, right? It's like, how am I supposed to trust somebody that's such a big fan of Bethesda doing an interview with a Bethesda guy and not be biased? And I'm like, why do you go into it? Why do you go into an interview thinking that? Just listen to the words coming out of the guy's mouth, like the interviewer and the interviewee, right? You don't have to look at it and go, oh, this dude's sucking his dick. It's like, he's just asking questions. Like, he's a fan of the game. He's asking questions about it. I think Maddie did a very good job. I watched it last night. He asked a lot of good questions. try to get Todd to say certain things, right? He asked the question. He knows he's not going to get an answer out of it, but he got answers out of him. He got a lot of stuff. I thought he did a really good job interviewing Todd Howard, and I thought Todd Howard was pretty fair in giving his answers. You getting a little bit more pumped for the first Ascendant? I'm not. I'm dead inside, Winzo. Like, I don't get excited for much anymore. Like, when I start playing a game and I actually start playing it, then I'll get excited. I'm not excited for the anticipation of games anymore. That's like getting excited for your check before you work. You're like, oh man, I can't wait to get that check. Then you get disappointed when you get the check and you're like, how much do they take out for taxes? Or the check doesn't clear. There's a new war game on Game Pass. It was an Italian first-person shooter, World War I or World War II. I was thinking about playing that. I gotta tell Sarge about it. I forget what the game's called. Right, Sarge. Because the industry is really excitement. They're like, game's coming out on Tuesday. It's got all this stuff. And then it comes out on Tuesday and you're like, oh, its servers are not working. Oh, that's broke. Oh, that's buggy. Oh, the rest of the content comes out in 9 months? Okay, cool. That's what happened to me a week before Christmas. Work check didn't clear. Oh, yeah. Dolphin, imagine working in the field that I used to work in where you get your money and sometimes you don't get your checks for like 60 to 90 days back then. And when the check came, you would then go try to cash it and it didn't go through because the company that was paying you didn't have the funds in their actual thing. So you waited 60 to 90 days to get paid and then you got paid. And then when you went to go get that check so you could live and survive, they went, sorry, they don't have the money. And you're like, what the? They're like, sorry, can you cash it next week? No, I can't. That's what happens a lot as a freelancer. Oh yeah, everyone has problems. They always come up with excuses. No one ever wants to take blame. Nobody ever wants to take blame. They'll always pass the buck around to somebody else. Like, look, I would say this. I'd be like, look, I don't give a shit what happened on your side. I was like, I did my job. Just pay me my money. And the worst part is, see, if I did an independent job and I was the camera guy, I would hold the footage until I got my money. So they can't do anything until they gave me the check. Right? They're like, well, I paid for the footage. I said, no, you paid me to make the footage. When you give me my check, I'll give you the footage. That's if you're doing independent jobs. If you're working for a company, you have to give the footage. All right, I got two articles here. Because now it's digital. You threaten them by holding a magnet up to the hard drive, like, give me my money. Give me my money, or I take this eraser. All right, we got 2 articles, right? We got 2 articles from Sea of Thieves, which I think is funny because we have, this is on June 13th and this is on June 15th. Okay. So June 13th, we'll read a little bit first, and then we'll move over to the June 15th one. Okay. Guys, like what I do here, we just cover news stories, have conversations, give you my opinions and thoughts. And then we have conversation with you guys in live chat. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right, so Xbox Sea of Thieves dominates PlayStation sales charts in North America and Europe. Adventures of Sea of Thieves charts a new course dominating the sales charts on the PlayStation 5. Now, the brief notes here, it says sales charts shared by Sony PlayStation themselves have given a glimpse at Microsoft's success on the platform. Sea of Thieves has launched on PlayStation a few weeks ago and has seen a dominant in the charts in both North America and Europe, taking the top spot. Microsoft also had high chart positions of Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, Grounded, Fallout 4, and Minecraft. On PlayStation 4, Minecraft topped the charts most likely as the past gen remains primary platform for many millions of youngsters. Now, recently, Sony posted an update on the blog detailing the latest round chart success of the games launching on the PlayStation, and Microsoft courted the controversy earlier this year when it announced that it was bringing some of the Xbox games to PlayStation. And Xbox CEO Phil Spencer reiterated that the plan for interview of IGN recently too, saying that the Xbox players should expect to see more games go across. This was a hot on the heels a spectacular of Xbox Showcase that also did the feature of Xbox exclusives. Okay, now Sea of Thieves is an oceanic open-world sandbox adventure game focused around multiplayer, and developers have added a safer seas mode to accommodate those who don't fantasy the chaotic multiplayer system, in addition to the vast, wealthy story-based content over the past few years. The latest Sea of Thieves update added throwing knives and double-barrel pistols, amongst other features, and also the Xbox Game Showcase. Rare revealed that the Season 13, which allows players to become a boss fight and seize control of an overpowered ship. Now, Microsoft founded various of successive PlayStation charts elsewhere. Minecraft topped the charts of PlayStation 4, and the console likely remains primary platform for many millions of youngsters who only fancy playing a few service types games. In addition, Grounded, Fallout 4, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 also held positions, too, arguably solidifying Microsoft's place as the biggest game publisher on the month of the platform. That's got to hurt PlayStation fans, huh? People that don't want to buy Microsoft games because whatever, they had Grounded, Fallout 4, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 all at the top of the charts with Sea of Thieves. Also, newcomers like Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Another Crab's Treasure also found some success, while longtime chart staples like NBA 2K and Grand Theft Auto 5 stayed in the mix. Okay? So, from that saying that Sea of Thieves is at the top of the charts, sold the most, to the next article just 2 days later. Now, obviously, one's from Windows Central and one's from Inside Gaming. Now, Sea of Thieves player count dropping fast on PlayStation 5, which is crazy because it was the #1 sold game on PlayStation in the top of the charts. But in a recent report, it claimed that 58% of Sea of Thieves PlayStation 5 players base decide to make port retire from sailing on the ocean less than a month after the game was released on the platform. This news comes just days after it revealed that Sea of Thieves was the most downloaded game on PlayStation in North America and Europe through May. So, I have a question. Okay? I have a question. If it was the #1 selling game in May, and yet 50% of the player base leaves in June, is it considered success? Yes. Do you know why? Because on Game Pass, Xbox, people could just rent the game and go, I don't like it, and put it down. Okay? And they just lost the $10 or $12 or $18 and they don't play it again. PlayStation had to pay full price for this game. So if they put it down afterwards, it doesn't matter, right? Because they bought the game, put enough hours into it, and said, no, I don't want to play the game anymore, and they lost. So 58% of Sea of Thieves people that bought the game had to buy the game. They bought the game, and now they're not playing the game anymore. That's still a win for Microsoft, right? Because they sold the game and went, oh, you sold this many copies. They're like, well, that's a success. Let's take the next game that we have and put it on the PlayStation as well and see how that does. That's what that does. Okay? So it says the news comes just days after reveal that Sea of Thieves was the most downloaded game of PlayStation in North America and Europe through May. This is the highest rated live service title already at risk of failing after appearing an all-new platform. I don't know if it's considered failing. I really don't think it's considered failing. It was a successful game. It's been out for 5 years. 5 years, okay, on a console that is selling half the copies of what PlayStation is selling, and the game still succeeds because it doesn't take that much to maintain. It made its money, and now it made its money on PlayStation, and it's going to make its money on other platforms as well. So in a report written by True Trophies, using the data from Games Insight, it was suggested that a whopping 58% of all Sea of Thieves players migrated away from the title within 1 month. It was recognized that the game had strong start on the platform, but was really likely of an account that also being the first time in Sea of Thieves surfaced on PlayStation since the beginning of release of 2018. It was the latest and modest line of Xbox exclusive games deported on PlayStation platforms, joining the likes of Grounded and Pentiment. There's also a natural life cycle that plays out in every game. A drop is expected, but almost 60% of players evacuated the live service game in just a couple of weeks is fairly drastic. Sea of Thieves is getting on its years, but it also continues to update a regular cadence and keeps more community connected to appreciative games. Several major changes, such as Unravel within the game's ecosystem, and there's also indication that Rare game developers will be done with it anytime soon. Okay, we actually talked about what was going to happen to the player base when the game first got announced for them, right? I said the people that have been playing the game for 5 years, PC players and Xbox players, when a PlayStation player comes in, they're going to get their ass kicked because they're not even going to know how to sail the boat, let alone enjoy the game. And because it's a PvE/PvP type of game and you're in this, not in safer seas, okay, that the people that have been playing the game for 5 years, that could just murder you with not even a thought in their mind while they play the game because they're so good at the game, that it's not going to be a good experience for the new players coming in. Hence why they put the safer seas in here. But this goes into a whole different conversation again, because a lot of people probably looked at it and said, well, why do I want to play safer seas? Because I want to play the regular game, and I don't want to play safer seas because it's a diminished return on the actual like treasure and stuff that you get. Now, I played Sea of Thieves last night or yesterday with my son. We played for about 2 hours. Within that 2 hours of playing, I got to like level 12 or 13 in the season pass. We did literally nothing except for go for like 2 different islands, right? And got a couple bits of treasure. I made maybe about 50, 60 grand in the currency inside the game. And I was like, man, I had a blast. I had a blast playing with my son. We'll probably play later today as well. Okay. But for people on PlayStation to come in and be like, this is kind of boring. I don't really like it, whatever. Sea of Thieves doesn't hold your hand. So they got on board because it seems cool. It's a pirate game. It's all this. But at the same time, it's brutal, right? And this is my conversation with Sea of Thieves all the time is make a PvE section, not diminished returns, and let people enjoy. Yesterday, me and my son, when we were playing in the Safer Seas version, right, I've never had this happen to me in the game, and I have well over 1,200 hours in this game, okay? We were on our way. We were on one island, okay? And we got attacked by a skeleton ship, just a small little sloop skeleton ship. And we were fighting with that one. And then as we were trying to get away from it, we were going to the outpost, right? One of the outposts. And then all of a sudden we heard, whoo, and then all of a sudden another ship, when you get close to the outpost, usually these things stop fighting you or whatnot. This literally appeared between us and the outpost, shot up in front of us, and then ran into us, and it was a battle. We got sunk because we got 2 ships on us at the same time. I was like, holy Christ. We didn't lose anything because we were right next to the outpost, so we got to keep our treasure. But if we were out, not next to the outpost, that would probably make most people quit because they're like, I just spent 2 hours getting all this treasure, and now I couldn't even turn it in. That would make people lose their mind because of respecting players' times. Now, I understand where Sea of Thieves is coming from and where Rare is coming from. They want this open world area where it feels good and stuff. But I guarantee you, if you made just a PvE area that wasn't diminished returns or anything like that, you would have more people play the game than you would if you had people just come into the PvP aspect of the game. Because people like playing the game until you get Summit 1G come in and, sleep on their boat and then murder them and take everything they got from them. Yes, it's very entertaining. Yes, it's fun to watch. Yes, there's people out there that are okay with it. But most people get pissed off and they leave. That's what's happening with the PlayStation fan base right now, right? PlayStation fan base that plays the game, we're probably playing the game. They're like, wow, this is actually a really fun game. Look at the water. Look at the ship. This is so much fun. And then they got their ass pushed in because a PC player came in, no-scoped them from jumping off a ship as they harpooned across and took all their stuff. And they're like, what are we doing? This is not fun at all. Okay, and that is the problem with Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, and you guys heard me say this before, is one of my favorite games. It's an absolute blast to play. It's a beautiful game done, but because they're forcing people to come in, everyone's like, well, it's called Sea of Thieves, not Sea of Friends. Again, if you want a player base to come in and not leave drastically, it took a long time for Xbox fans and PC players to kind of adapt and understand what the thing is. And the new PC players, they'll come back. They'll come back after a couple updates because the game is in a much better state than it is now than it was when it first came out, when it was just on Xbox. Okay? It's a much better game now, but it is disheartening for a lot of people when they come into the game and then all of a sudden get all that stuff and then they lose all that stuff. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours, what you think in the comment section down below. #1 game last month when they purchased it, but just 1 month later, it's down almost 60%. Said 58% of the people have left the game. Do you think they come back? Do you think they make changes? Do you think they'll give it another shot? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, please make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right. Are the companies owned by IGN? Are you talking about Insider Gaming? I don't believe they're one of the companies that are owned by IGN now. Was it industry.biz or was it... Let me see. I don't think so. Let's see what you guys are saying. People will come and go with live service. Exactly. PvE instead of safer seas. That would definitely make me quit if I had a limited time play. Yeah, it's brutal, Rose, when you have that. Sea of Thieves is boring to a certain point, right? So they've done a really good job of making it less boring because you get on your ship, you get on your boat, and then you sail to the next island. You're like, nothing's happening. Now there's different events that you can happen. You can find a shipwrecked sea or go underneath to Atlantis, or you can get a skeleton ship, or you can go to a fort, or you can go to a... There's so many things to do now. It's just you choose. There's no difference between what Sea of Thieves' world is and, like, Division, right? Division 2, if you just ran from one point of the map to the other, you'd be like, well, this is kind of boring. But if you start shooting things across the way and start killing things from this street and then go to the next and do the stronghold and then go over here, there's a lot to do. In Sea of Thieves, it's the exact same thing. The only difference is it's not a city, it's an ocean. And in that ocean, there's so many things to do now. But a lot of people don't know that because they don't tell you anything in the game, right? Everything is found out by doing it for the first time. And if you don't know, if you get on a boat for the very first time in Sea of Thieves by yourself, you're like, well, how do I use the map? How do I find out which direction? You have to have a sense of direction. If you have no sense of direction, you're going to hate the game, right? You can't look at the map unless you run down in your sloop, right? There's no map that you can just, like, look at. There's lots of different things that help or make it harder. And Sea of Thieves is a game that doesn't hold your hand in the very beginning, right? It does not hold your hand. Knowing where the wind to turn to sails compared to where you're going with the ocean and where the storm's coming from or where it's going, or there's just so many things And a lot of people are like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. But if you have a group of people that are all together, it's a much better experience. A much better experience. But it's a hard sell. Hard sell, not hard sale. So you could say Sea of Thieves is a Dark Souls of pirate games. Yeah, it really is. It's brutal. Yeah, it's not really a survival game because you don't have to eat to survive. You have to eat to get your health back up, but it's not a survival like an Ark or anything like that. You can matchmake Titan with people. There is a matchmaking with it. And for the most part, Sea of Thieves, for the most part, has a very good community to play with. Okay? Because it's cross-play, you can play with things. But the problem is you'll come across a bunch of assholes that will put you in jail. They don't want you to play. But they want you to back out. Or you'll come across on a server where you might be with a group of people that want to play the game. But again, you might get into a lobby with a really good crew, and they're just rampaging amongst everyone. They just own everybody. So everyone's getting all the treasure, and they just go around sinking all those ships and take that stuff. Right? So this is why I've always, for the years it's been out, I said they have to make a PvE. Let me play how I want to play. But they know if they made it PvE, more people would play PvE than they would play PvP. And this is why they make you play PvP. One, they make you play PvP because you see other people's ships, other people's cosmetics, other people's things, and that's part of the business model. If there's a game that's out there that's PvP/PvE, okay, more people play the PvE aspect of it. They just do. Because gamers are older. The average gamer is older, and older gamers want their time respected. Just how it is. Nobody wants to come back from work, sit down and play a nice game, grab all your stuff that you think you're about to turn in, and 3 seconds later you get deleted from a Kraken, from a pirate ship, from whatever else, and then you're done. You're like, well, I literally just wasted. Now, they've done a good change in it where if you just sail in the seas, you get accommodations and stuff. And the accommodations reward you with like 1,000 coins or whatnot. But for the most part, you still lose the treasure. So if I find a treasure chest, a Marauder's chest, I believe if I get a Marauder's chest in the PvE or PvP aspect, it's like $700 or $800 coins. But if I get the same Marauder's chest in the Safer Seas, it's like 171 or 200. It's like 1/4 of what it is. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Lawn guys came. I had to remove my dog. All right. Yeah, so Sea of Thieves, look, Sea of Thieves has been around for, what, 5 years? Going on 6 years now? Just as long as Division 2. Division 2 is going to stay around. Sea of Thieves is going to stay around. It's just that Sea of Thieves is, because it's new on PlayStation, Microsoft wins because they made the sales. Sure, down the road, are more people going to play the game? Yeah, because more things are coming into the game at all times. We're in season 12 now. Season 13 will come out. People will see it and go, oh, I'll come back and check it out. Season 14, they have other things that they're going to do. There's always more things happening. So people will come back. More people will buy the game on sale. I wouldn't be surprised if down the road, not only is Sea of Thieves going to be on, now, is it on PlayStation Plus already? Because if it's not, give it like 8-9 months. I think they say they put PlayStation Sea of Thieves on PlayStation Plus. If it's not already there. PlayStation Plus need a PlayStation Plus subscription to play Sea of Thieves multiplayer. Solo play, its safer mode does not require a sub, however. So it's on, right? I think it's on the higher tier. Is it on PlayStation Plus? Here it just says that PlayStation players need PlayStation Plus subscription to play it. But it doesn't say it's on PlayStation Plus. Let me see. Here it says it's $40, $30. They already have it on a discount right now. PlayStation Plus required for online play. In-game purchase optional. Online play required. Supports up to 24 players with PlayStation Plus. But is it on PlayStation Plus? Yeah, anybody that has PlayStation Plus, let me know if it's on there. Because I honestly don't know, because I don't have a PlayStation, so. That just means they need Xbox Live to play. No, it's not. No, it's not a game you can play if you have PlayStation Plus. Thanks, Eclipse. Yeah, so I think down the road, give it almost a year, right? I'll say like 9 months. They'll make it where it's on PlayStation Plus in the subservice. Hell, they could even do it. When did it come on? April? Let's see. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Right? December. 8 to 9 months. Holiday season. You might see it on PlayStation Plus this holiday. I think it's funny when people laugh. Is selling well on PlayStation. Fuck you, Microsoft. All the money went to Microsoft. Yeah, it's always funny to me, right? You have the one article, Dolphin, that says it's the #1 selling game of last month. And then this month, they're like, well, 58% of people are leaving. And they're like, haha, your face. It's like, I don't think that's what you think it means. It's like, I don't think you think what that means, because... in our face, we're making money off of that. 58% of the people that don't play it anymore paid us $40. I'll show them. They get Call of Duty on Game Pass. I'll show them. I'm gonna buy Call of Duty. Like, okay, all right, burn us. Right. Think about that, Mo. The money they make from like Call of Duty and Sea of Thieves and all the other games they put out there, they can go fund another game while the Game Pass money just keeps coming in. Right. I bought it just to quit playing it so the player numbers would drop. Fuck you, Microsoft. It's like, it's so ridiculous. The hatred is so strong that they're like, I'll show them. Imagine two friends, right? Two friends. One is on Xbox and one is on Call of Duty. One friend, or on PlayStation, playing Call of Duty. Okay, so the Call of Duty friends are playing. The new Call of Duty comes out. They go, oh, cool, we can play together. One kid is broke. And he's like, oh, I can play it. The other kid is from a rich family. And they buy him everything. And he pays $70. Who do you think's got the better deal? The kid that's playing the $10 for Game Pass that it's already got? Or the $70 of the kid that bought it and then goes, I don't really like the game and puts it down? You know what I mean? It's an ingenious win for Microsoft because the person on PlayStation is giving them full price and the person that's on Xbox is giving them what they've been giving them. What they want them to give them, which is Game Pass. There needs to be a country where we send all the Twitter people in exile. I think that was originally called Australia back then, Dolphin. That's what it was. Did you guys watch? You guys watch Star Wars Theory? Anybody watch Star Wars Theory? First off, does anybody watch Star Wars Theory on YouTube? And if so, did you see the skit that he put together with Palpatine talking to Anakin, but he added the acolyte to it? That you've never heard of that amazes me, Dolphin. It amazes me because I have a channel that's got 2,400 people. Okay. And people watch me. He's got 3.6 million. and the fact that you've never heard of him, it always blows my mind that there's people on the internet that have millions of people watch them and they have no idea who the fuck they are. Always, I'll never get over it. It boggles my mind. Because it happens to me. I watch them and I'm like, who? Never even heard of them. So the fact that there's people watching me right now is mind-blowing. Should I watch The Acolyte? I mean, do you like Star Wars, Titan? And also, do you like getting kicked in the nuts? Bro's got a Lambo making Star Wars videos. He's a smart businessman. He now has a lightsaber business. So he can fund his fan films. What's crazy to me is he's gotten that. He started during like the Force Awakens era. I love Star Wars, but not the nut kicks. I mean, you might like Acolyte. 5 years ago, I saw you on Lono's podcast and said, fuck this guy, and turned you off. And now you've been here every day for 2 years? I'm gonna Squidus' taste. You know what I mean, Dolphin? Also, if you like the thought of having your nuts removed. Yeah, well, getting kicked, removing them. It depends on who's giving the nut kicks. Is it Daisy Ridley or Kathleen Kennedy? I mean, I'll be honest. Daisy Ridley could kick much harder than Kathleen Kennedy, I would think, right? Because she's much younger. But at the same time, I would rather have Daisy kick me in the nuts than Kathleen. Because at least I can look at someone that's good looking kicking me in the nuts. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? At least you could tell a story, right? Because if you told this story down the road and you're like, there's a time that Daisy Ridley kicked me in the nuts, and be like, go on, right? And if you're like, Kathleen Kennedy kicked me in the nuts, you'd be like, fuck did Kathleen Kennedy kick you in the nuts? She's like ancient. You know Kathleen Kennedy would have some power behind that kick? Nah. No, it's as if she looks me in the eyes. Yeah. I like Daisy Ridley as an actress. I think she did a good job on what she had. I think a lot of the actors during the sequel trilogy, they did the best they had. You know what I mean? I don't blame her for being the character that she was. You know what I mean? Ow. Popped my... Right. I have no problem with Daisy. I have no problem with Daisy character doing what she did. I have a problem with the story overall and the lore and what they did with the story, but I think she did a fantastic job. Think about this. In a different universe, right? In a different universe, if Daisy's character, we didn't get episode 8 and 9, right? In a different universe, we got just episode 7. And at the end of 7, we were all pretty happy. We're like, yeah, this is actually pretty entertaining, right? Besides Han Solo dying the way he did, okay? But if we found out in episode 8 that she is now the granddaughter or daughter of either Obi-Wan or Luke Skywalker, how cool would that have been, right? Because then you have Luke Skywalker training the granddaughter or daughter of the guy who trained him. Do you know what I mean? It would have been pretty cool. Daisy really had so much charisma that she met Finn in the movie, in the trilogy, and could have been amazing. I think it could have done so much better. You just erase 8 and 9 and then redo 8 and 9 in a different way without Rian Johnson doing what he did. I think the trilogy would have been much more. I'm with Lona. You need to watch Andor. But why? Here's the thing, right? And Creature sells the same thing to me. He says it's so good, and I'm like, great, but I don't need to see it, right? I've seen Rogue One, right? And Andor adds more to it, but if I don't see it, it doesn't change anything for me. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't change anything for me. For instance, I don't need to watch Clone Wars seasons 1 through 7. Right? The story of just 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, the story of I fought with your father in the Clone Wars, I don't really need to see all the other stuff in the Clone Wars. It brings more to the table, which is cool. But you could not see Clone Wars and still enjoy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just do it. It goes with New Hope and Rogue One. Andor's the Rebels' backstory. Yeah. Which I really don't need. Do you know what I mean? I could put 2 and 2 together why there's an uprising of how the Rebels got started. Right. Right. It's just that extra gravy. Exactly. You know what I mean? You don't need it. But the people that like it can watch it and go, oh, yeah, I like this, right? But you don't need it. You don't need to watch that. I'm telling you 100%, you will enjoy it. And only for the statistics of a good production design. You'll hate other extra character arcs. I think I'll just wait for Andor Season 2 to come out, and then I'll watch the whole thing. Because I don't think I want to watch it and then wait. So when Andor Season 2 comes out, I'll wait for the whole season to be done, and then I'll watch both seasons. That's also true, Salty, right? Well, here's the difference, though, right? Why watch the prequels when you know what happens to Darth Vader? But at the same time, you get to learn the story of him as a kid and what made him turn to the dark side, right? So, if you watch Andor, right, I know what happens to Andor, but if I want more stuff to know about how the Rebels got started, then it's there. You know what I mean? The backstory of it. Rogue One was the last great Star Wars anything. I'm trying to think. Are you talking about just movie-wise? Are you talking just movie-wise? No, you're talking about everything. I would say that I thought Mando's season 1 was really good. But then they had to go fuck it up. Nah, Ahsoka's show wasn't very good. I'll give you have you seen Rebels? I only watched season 1 of Rebels. Not Rebel, I'm sorry, Bad Batch. Have you seen season 1 of Bad Batch? Eclipse says, I'm done with Star Wars. I keep saying it's going to get better. Never does. Just stick with the prequels and the original trilogy. Yeah, that's how I feel now, Eclipse. Mark Hamill's interview after the new trilogy were pretty good. I think you have to separate live and animated. Well, that's what I'm saying about if it's because I do believe Ahsoka's storyline. You can say what you want if you like the character or not. I think her storyline within there, and I said this on the after show on Friday with Lono and Creature. I think if you just give me a line inside of episode 3, a mention or something about Ahsoka, I would be okay. I don't need to see her in the movie. I don't need to see anything. I just need a line. of a connector from the cartoon into the actual story. Yeah, prequels is, if done good, are good for the extra content and the character. Well, the problem is we're also comparing, Salty, you're comparing Andor to Anakin Skywalker, right? Anakin Skywalker is the story of Star Wars, right? The Skywalker is a story. Andor is just a character in the Star Wars story of Anakin. Do you know what I mean? It's a huge difference of the backstory of the biggest villain of all mankind in film history and a guy who dies on a planet because of the plans. Do you know what I mean? There's a huge difference. I'm not taking anything away from Andor if he was a good character or not, but I'll tell you what, he's not memorable as Darth Vader. You guys said that on Friday. I don't know why. For what? For the connection point? Because Ahsoka in the Clone Wars series is during a big part. Like, she's a big part, but she leaves before the fall of Order 66. But there's no sign of her in episodes 2 or 3. So just making a reference or something would connect it. Because it is weird to go, well, where is she? Because if you watch Clone Wars, there's so many episodes, and it takes the span of 2 years, but you're like, where is she this entire time in episodes 2 and 3? If she's always with Anakin in the show. The rise and fall and rise again of a Jedi. Darth is now a crutch for Disney? Sure. Yeah, they're diluting him. The more you show him, the more you dilute him. Read your other comment. I think they have a separate live animated. I read that. Yes, that reminds me. I didn't watch the Clone Wars. Why was she the last straw to break Anakin into Vader? Oh, well, I don't want to ruin that for you. That's a huge arc inside the Clone Wars. Ahsoka was shoehorned in. Like, how many Jedi survived Order 66? Well, right, but she's not a Jedi, right? She's not a Jedi. She leaves the Order before. Is this a Persona song? I don't think so. It is called All World. JMPSCR. I mean, I guess it could be. I don't play Persona, so I don't know. Yeah, she's his Padawan. So Obi-Wan and Anakin, right? Anakin's his Padawan. Ahsoka's his Padawan. But she's never mentioned or seen in the movies, obviously, because the show was made after the films. I'm behind. Why are we all letting people kick you in the nuts? Weird fetish. It's not a fetish. I'm just saying, if you want to watch Acolyte, you want to get kicked in the nuts, and someone said, would you rather get kicked in the nuts by Daisy Ridley or Kathleen Kennedy? I would take the pretty girl over the old woman. Just saying. Not really a fetish. I mean, I would preferably not to get kicked in the balls, but if I have to. You must watch 7 seasons to know the reference. Yeah, there's a lot there, but there's more to the... Just for the reference, though, there's a lot more to the story. There's a huge chunk of change for, like, the lore of the Force and everything else. But now goes out the window, by the way. Now goes out the window because of the Acolyte. You don't like the series, Salty, or you do like the series? Oh, you don't like this? You don't like the Clone Wars series? Obi-Wan was shit. Like the voice acting? Yeah, we have that channel, but we don't do anything with it because it's like impossible to get content and stuff. I just figured we talk about nerdy shit later in this show. I like the Clone Wars series, not the Ahsoka series. But I'm confused. You're saying the Clone Wars series is the Ahsoka series, is what you're saying. My goal every day is to derail the discussion. Well, that's impossible because everything is on the table, so you can't really derail something that doesn't really have a rail to be on. Russian says there's no more definitive lore anymore because come another spin-off series, they'll just change that shit again. Yeah, it's brutal the way they're doing it, right? And I've said this before. I don't know if you were here, 007, but when I said this, I said that they could have taken the Acolyte and they could have done it like 1,000 years in the past, and they could have said whatever story they want because within that time frame, you could change what you want, right? Things could adapt and change. But they chose on purpose to bring it right too close to what the original trilogy was. It's 100 years, but 100 years is literally two generations of the Dark Sidious, like the dark Siths, right? So it's pretty shitty. They did it on purpose. Come on, James. No, they are separate. The live action is separate, and the Clone Wars Ahsoka is the animation was good. Dawson's live action was good. Oh, you don't like? Okay, I got you. So you like the Clone Wars animated series. You don't like the... Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the Ahsoka show. The fucking writing is just terrible. How do you build up? Here's the thing I don't like about what the Rebels show, right? The Rebels, the way it ends, and that there's like this last like 2-minute like synopsis of they try to go for Ezra and whatnot. Well, they show that part in the show, and then they go get Ezra, and he's been missing for like a long time, and they do nothing. They're like, "Hey, how are you?" And it's like, "What? What do I have to wait for the Ezra show now, like Andor, so I can get backstory of what he's been doing there for this entire time?" Right? Oh, the Obi-Wan show. That's what broke the camel's back for me, Salty. Obi-Wan is the show that I was like, I'm done. I was like, I can't. I was like, they completely and utterly ruined this fucking show. To be fair, 100 years before is easier to do than 1,000. Why? In what way, Titan? Easy in what way? To do? To fuck it up? Why isn't 1,000 years easier than 100 years? So you can attach it to the people that we know in the original. The Acolyte is probably like the worst thing in the world. Power of the one, power of the two, power of the three. No, it's the power of many. Who's doing the new Darth Vader voice? Well, right now it's still... I think it's still James Earl Jones, I believe. Oh, you're saying, I mean, if you want to fuck up the lore, 100 years is faster. Oh, yeah. That's why they picked 100 years, so they could screw it up. What I'm saying is if they put it back in the farther in the past, they could do what they want. The setting of the story is more similar to the prequels, which is the problem. Which is the problem. Because it's so close to the prequels and what the same story of the prequels is, it diminishes what the prequels are. It diminishes what Star Wars is. The fact that they just did what they did in this show dilutes what the original story is for Star Wars. Like if you wanted to put it 1,000 years, then you don't get Chewbacca, you don't get Yoda. They're safe. They're not there, right? You don't get Plagueis. You don't get any of those characters that are attached to people in the original series. Okay, you don't get any of that. So it's a brand open. It's a blank canvas for you. There's still lore and stuff that goes back farther back, but they could have done the story and could have been like every 1,000 years the Force makes a, whatever. And I guess they could say the same thing like every 1,000 years or every 100 years the Force makes one of these, right? But it's hilarious. You dilute what Star Wars was, and I'm mind boggled by this because you paid money to get the IP for Star Wars and Star Wars to make money, and then you take what Star Wars is and you shit all over it to make you less money. The Force itself was for everybody. It was never a man thing or a thing, right? It was for everyone. Hence, Leia, Luke, right? Like, there were twins, and it's for everybody. But now they bought it and made it into where the Force is female. They made it a girl brand. Chris Gore said this. He says, making this a girl brand will destroy the brand. And it has. Because 80% of the people that watch Star Wars, not to say there's not women that watch Star Wars or enjoy Star Wars, but 80% of the people that bought, watched, loved Star Wars are men. I love that you have passion for Star Wars, but when you complain about Suicide Squad, you hand wave me. Love you, Yamook. Listen. There's a difference between comic books and things of Lord of the Rings, Dune, Star Wars. Okay? The difference, Vandal, is that your lore and stuff comes from comic books. And comic book authors change all the time, and they change the things, and they have different runs. That's not what movies are. Movies are, there's a creator for the movie, okay? And then they go with it. Now with video games and whatnot, making a Suicide Squad game that you're upset about, I get it. But at the same time, they change the characters all the time in comic books. The writer of Lord of the Rings, the writer of Star Trek, the writer of Star Wars had this is their story. Is Suicide Squad, not to diminish it in any way, shape, or form, is Suicide Squad this huge blockbuster title that there's, changed cinema history? Is it? Did Suicide Squad comics change the landscape of comics. Well, I'm not even talking about the multiverses, though, Water. I'm just talking about a run of comics. If it was 12 issues, 24 issues, whatever it is, and then a new person comes in and writes it and changes the art style and does the stuff, that's what comics are. The character's the same. Bruce is still the same, right? There's variations of characters. Mike, Quinn cannot jump off 50-story buildings in the comics. Well, technically, she's using the Batarang or the bat hook. You're jumping mediums, though. You're jumping mediums. We're talking about a film, not the video game. Now, if Princess Leia in a video game can jump off buildings and stuff like that, well, she's got the Force. Maybe she can do that. Let me pick a different character. Finn, who's not Force sensitive. Okay? If he did one thing in the movies and one thing in the books, and all of a sudden in the video game, all of a sudden now he can fly, I'd be like, what the fuck? Finn can't fly. I agree with you 100%. Okay? But you're changing mediums. You're being a video game character. But it's a video game. Right? We're talking about just the story of movies and television here. We're not talking about a controllable character that you can use in a video game to make you feel powerful. Well, the fucking Leia out in space where she died, but then she used the Force to come back, that we can have that conversation. Okay? I thought it was fucking stupid. And then she flew back in like Mary Poppins. Yeah, exactly. Leia Mary Poppins. That's right. Luke Skywalker taking the lightsaber and just throwing it over his shoulder, meaning I don't give a shit about this character whatsoever. I'm just going to throw this over my shoulder. Takes his father's lightsaber and throws it over the that shit pissed me off. He wouldn't do that. What? What would he have done? He got the lightsaber originally. I was like, this is my father's lightsaber. And then became a Jedi Master himself. And then brought his father back to good. Why would he take that lightsaber and then toss it over his shoulder? You literally got up. You're like, oh, fuck is this? And she's like, no, you gotta sit back down. And you're like, I can't take this. She's Mary Poppins. Here, Vandal, I'll put it this way. Is Suicide Squad your favorite comic of all time? You know the ins and outs of everybody, that's your jam. You love Suicide Squad more than Batman, more than Superman, more of the other stuff, or is it just a comic you like? If you like it and passionate about Suicide Squad, then obviously I can't tell you what you like or don't like, right? If you're passionate like I am about Star Wars, then I can 100% understand where you're coming from, but I'm not there with Suicide Squad, so I don't see it, right? Just like someone's not into Star Wars like me, and they can't see what I'm talking about, so they're okay with whatever happens in Star Wars. House says, I was watching some science shows, and the guy said that you can survive about 1.5 minutes in space. I mean, right, you would freeze to death. He would die and freeze to death. Yeah, see, the video game thing is where I love selected characters in Suicide Squad. 75 years of lore. I get it. We all know why they put Harley Quinn in the game, right? Man, you know why they put her in the game, right? Both you and I know why they put her in the game. They say you would suffocate long before freezing. Yeah, you would. The one thing they did good with Luke is when he shows up in episode 8 and then like dies off, but he like projects himself. That was like cool because that's what he could be able to do. But then they fucked it up. Waterbear says, nobody gave a shit about Suicide Squad, the movie, comic, or anything. They only liked Harley Quinn because Margot Robbie and because she's hot. Jones says, air would get sucked out of your lungs and your blood would just boil. Nice. Would you feel it? Would you feel it boil? That'd be pretty weird, huh? Hey. There were Harley Quinn stains way before Margot Robbie. I wish I could take a magnet and forget the last 3 Star Wars films. You know, it is what it is. Look, I'm not going to sit here and think that the original Star Wars films were, like, flawless in, like, their execution. There's stuff in there. Like, one of the biggest things after you watch 1, 2, and 3 is that fight scene between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan when they're in the Death Star and they're like, "Take me down, Vader. I become more powerful." Like, that was the most lamest fight ever. But at the time in 1977 when they fought, you're like, well, this is pretty cool, right? So over time, it didn't age very well. I waited so long not to watch 8 and 9 because I knew they were bad, and now I wish I never did. When did you watch them? Like recently, Eclipse? I have to watch them again because my son wants to watch them. He's like, "Dad, will you watch them with me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I've only watched each one once. I've only watched them once. I don't want to watch them again, but I also don't want to skew his view of the movies, right? Like I want him to watch the movies and make his own choice, not like them because I don't like them. You know what I mean? I did see the remake of it when someone did like a fan flick of it. I was like, that's the way it should have been. That would be awesome if Lucas could Like all the stuff he ever did over the years of putting stuff in, if they redid that fight and put that in there, that would be it. That would be it. Just change that fight. It's such a long movie. Yeah, you know why? Fucking chase scene in the beginning is so fucking stupid. God, just thinking about it, I get pissed off again. So fucking stupid. Nothing about that opening chase scene and what they're doing makes any sense whatsoever. None of it. None of this stuff makes sense. I have it on this channel. On Nerd, I forget where it was. Yeah, just everything about it. I'm going back down the black hole. You brought it back up. That's it. Like, I get so frustrated with that. Fucking Rian Johnson. Everything about that film is just horse shit. I go on a rant. I think me and Sarge do it, an episode. I think me and Sarge literally do an episode. I'm going to have to find what episode it is. What, the Broom Boy? You got excited for Broom Boy? Fucking Broom Boy. Like that whole... Everything about that film is just absolute horseshit. Eight's that one where they go to that planet. Yeah, they go to the casino to find the guy that they can't find, to do the thing that they can't do. Yeah, to end up at the other place. Like, the last fight scene. Why take the AT-ATs and put them fucking 22 miles away from the door that you're bombing? Okay? Why? Why don't you just put them right, boom, right there? And then two, why not just shoot the base from the ship? It's so stupid. Everything about... I can't do this, chat. I'm getting frustrated again about so many stupid choices. Just give it to Tony Gilroy all the shit and gave him the point. Man, finally made Star Wars a little bit more serious and wrote the actual dialogue. Rogue One, I love Rogue One, but I don't like Rogue One for what Star Wars is, right? Star Wars is like this cheesy, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 stick together. Rogue One sticks like a sore thumb if you watch it in order with the rest of them. If they wanted to make Star Wars over again, and I mean this, if they wanted to make it all over again, but make it gritty like an Andor, like a Rogue One, I'd be up for that. If it's a fanfic done in that way or whatever, I'll watch it. So like episode 5 where Vader killed a lot of people, they were finding the base there, right? So they put the AT-ATs across the thing. They didn't know where their base was. They were approaching in on their base. In almost the same though, right? Almost the same. But at the same time, on the base in episode 8, they knew they flew to that one base and it was just the one ship that went to that one place. right? They had to put the things on the outside, right, to get to the shield generator, to blow up the shield generator so they can get into the base. Like, they're in there. Everything was like slow. They're like, oh, we gotta kill another 20 minutes of this. Let's take the edit and walk. Let's get the bombers. The B-Wings. The fucking B-Wings with the bombs all inside. And they had to go super slow. And they had to get it right above. Like, that's not how B-Wings work. Fucking so dumb. Still the same thing. Once the generators down, they bombarded instead of invading. Yeah, they bombarded it after the shields were down. They had to put ground troops first to break the shield so they can do the bombardment. That's why they had to escape Hoth. Oh, James Earl Jones lets them AI his voice and pay him $50 million and his family to be set for generations. I think he signed, if I'm not mistaken, I think he signed his voice and likeness over to them. I know nothing about Star Wars, but I want to make a show and a movie about it and fuck it up. Well, if you know nothing about it, you could probably write a better story than the people that do. The one guy in the interview for the Acolyte said that Anakin blew up the Death Star. The ones in episode 8, those were B-Wings, Morcat. Oh, though, yeah, okay. They weren't actually. I thought there was B-Wings in there. Those were different bombers. You are correct. What ships were those? Yeah, it's these guys. Here, let me bring it up. See? Yeah, those I thought were B-Wings. See, I've only seen the movie once. Anyway, why the fuck do their bombs have to drop out of the thing like they do? Look at Morcat. Morcat's like, 30. Get my dictionary out and calm down, Morcat. Just listen 10 more seconds. I agreed with you. I always joke with Pong Soul and say, I hope they make a live service looter shooter with Yoda flying around. Yeah. Well, if they do that, Vandal, I'll let you know. I'll be just as pissed as you are for Suicide Squad. Right, Dolphin. They're gonna open that thing up and then they're gonna fall out. In their Star Wars, fire has gravity, you know, oxygen and stuff in space as well, so. And people look at it differently because they're like, well, there was fire on the other ships, but those were explosions because there's oxygen in the ship, and then they explode, and then it disappears. It goes boom, and then it right. And if there's fire, it's because it's coming out of the actual, like, you know what I'm saying? But Kurt says, Yoda was special. Now he's riding kids for a dime at the fair. Oh, my God. I also love the stupidity of the very end scene of episode 9, where they go get reinforcements, and it's like the whole entire galaxy gets through that asteroid field with no losses. That's always a good one. Star Trek did fire in space better. None. I mean, the only people that could tell you how strong Spider-Man is, officially, is Lee and Ditko, right? So, Lee and Ditko said, Stanley and Ditko, said he could regularly lift 10 tons by adulthood. 10 tons, exceeding his limits under moments of intense stress. Most famously in the 1966 Amazing Spider-Man number 33. So, Spider-Man is just strong enough to lift 10 tons. There you go. It doesn't matter what anyone else says, because the creators of the actual character said 10 tons. So there you go. Oh, I totally forgot about that, Vandal. They're on the outside of the ship. They're riding horses in the ship with inside gravity, by the way. They're inside the atmosphere. The ships are there. All they had to do is this, and then they would have won the war. just do this, and they would have won the war. Right, but you have a baseline, though, Roadkill, right? If it's 10 tons, And under extreme circumstances, he can go higher than that, meaning he can't do it very long. But on a regular basis, he can do 10 tons. So sure, he could do 50 tons, but for a brief moment, because he would hurt himself big time, right? But 10 tons is what he could do on a normal thing. $10 tons of trouble. Well, no, they weren't ready to go hyperspace yet, Dolphin. That's why they didn't. But yeah, all they had to do was just leave, but they couldn't leave yet because they were waiting for the power up to happen. When they set records for bench pressing, it's just one bench press? Sure. You're correct, Roadkill. The creators say 10 tons. We don't know what his max lift is for one bench press is. yeah, just the stupid shit that was in that movie. Nobody knows. Let's see. Spider-Man, let's see if someone knows. How strong is Spider-Man? How much can he bench? Well, here you go. In the early days as a teenager, Spider-Man officially bench strength was 10 tons, but following the years, he has also demonstrated levels above that mark. More realistic assessment is the modern Spider-Man's strength would have him capable of lifting 40 tons or perhaps more under extreme stress. You see how much that changed? From super fans. So here you go. We actually have this is proof that Spider-Man was bench pressing. We're going live. We're going live to the gym. There it is. Spider-Man bench pressing. We've seen it. Am I gonna play Wuhang? I am not. It's not my type of game. It's like a Dark Souls type of game. Not for me. Looks awesome. Not my type of game. All right, what is it? 1240. All right, we talked about console exclusives make business sense. We talked about Star Wars Outlaws. We talked about Sea of Thieves. We didn't talk about the Todd Howard interview, but it's always tomorrow. Tonight, we're gonna play some Starfield. We're gonna download that mission, the $7 mission. Watch out. We're gonna watch and play the $7 mission and see how long it is inside of Starfield, and see if it's worth the $7. Let me tell you, probably not. Okay, but we're gonna play it and watch it. Well, I'm gonna play. You're gonna watch and see if it's worth these $7. Spoiler again, I don't think it will be. And then tomorrow we'll be back for more gaming news, and then tomorrow night we'll play some Fallout 76. The new update came out last week. We haven't played it yet, so we'll play it for the first time with the story and stuff tomorrow night for the weekly reset for Fallout 76. And then Wednesday night we're going to be playing probably either Star Wars or play some game with Sarge for STS, shooting the shit with Sarge. And then Thursday we have the podcast. This is my last full week of streaming. Next week we're going to do a Monday morning, Monday evening, Monday morning, or Tuesday morning, and that's it. I'll be gone for a week. We're going on vacation, and then I'll be back for like 10 days, and then I'm leaving for another week. So July is going to be end of June, and July is going to be a real low point for my streaming and live shows this year. So other than that, appreciate it very much. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys all this week, and then for Monday next week, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.